Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. I do want to talk a little college basketball coaching carousel because, listen, coaching carousel is fun, right? It's like the funnest part of this job. I mean, not for the people that get fired, and I do feel bad for those people. I had Matt Doherty on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we talked about his time at North Carolina and the pit in your stomach for when things do go wrong. And I think it's easy for us in the media to, make fun of all these guys. Oh, they get paid so much money. But it is good fodder, right? It's good fodder when Gus Malzahn gets fired at Auburn but then lands at UCF. It's good fodder for when Tom Herman is out at Texas and it ends up having Steve Sarkisian as the head coach. By the way, Texas got a top recruit at quarterback. I'm telling you, Sark is going to work at Texas. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to work. But in college basketball, it's been kind of a weird, 13 months on the coaching carousel, because last year it was kind of crazy. We thought we had a situation where Texas was going to open up, where a few other jobs were going to open up, and basically none of them did. Wake Forest opened up in May, but other than that, no major coaching jobs opened up. And so finally on Tuesday of this week, the first major job opened up, and I want to talk about it, and that is Boston College. And I know, I'm guessing, call me crazy, we probably don't have a ton of Boston College basketball fans listening to this podcast. I don't even know if they exist, to be honest. But what I will tell you is this. First of all, it's the first opening at the Power 5, Power 6 level this year. By technicality, it's the third because Wichita and Penn State both have interim head coaches. But in terms of the decision itself, this was the first one that really opened up in this cycle. But Jim Christian, their former head coach, is out after 7 seasons. He only had 1 winning season. Frankly, he's a guy a lot like Shaka Smart, actually, that was probably saved by the COVID deal last year. He probably would have been fired last year had there not been COVID, but he gets the can earlier this week. I did think it was interesting they decided to fire him with 3 weeks left to go and didn't let him finish the season. A lot of people were upset about it. I don't know what you want me to say. Everybody knows it's going to end in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it is. I can't get that worked up that the school decided to move on now. With that said, I just think it's kind of an interesting hire, and I think you guys know about my age range, and many of you are in my age range. And what I would tell you is, for the younger people, Boston College, it was not that long ago that they really weren't that bad in basketball. Now, it was mostly in the Big East days, but the Big East was really good. When I was in college, Boston College actually made the Sweet 16. But I looked it up, and from 1994 to 2010, this was a program that actually made 10 NCAA tournaments. So in a 16-year period, they made 10 NCAA tournaments, including 2 Sweet 16s. So this program is not nearly as irrelevant as people in their 20s probably think it is. It was not that long ago that this program was actually pretty decent on the national stage, and I think there's a chance that they can be pretty decent again going forward. Some have said it's the worst job in the ACC. I don't know if I believe that. I still think, Boston is an awesome college town. The fans will come out if you're good, but Boston is no different than what I was talking about with USC, with UCLA. It's a pro sports town. It's a big city. If you're not good, people aren't going to show up to watch a bad team. But if you get good, people will show up. And I think when you add in the fact that some of the best prep schools in the country are in Boston, I think this can be, I don't want to say like a sleeping giant. It's never going to be a better job in its own conference than Duke, Louisville, North Carolina, maybe Syracuse. I don't think it's terrible either. It kind of reminds me, ironically, of Wake Forest, which opened up last offseason. You can win there with the right coach. If you get the right coach, and win there is relative, but you get to NCAA tournaments, nobody cares. It's like Notre Dame with Mike Brey. I always used to say Mike Brey had the greatest job in the world. All he had to do was get to the NCAA tournament once every 2 years, and he was basically on easy street for the rest of his life. Guy's been there 22 years, and I think he's made it past the first weekend 3 times, and 2 of them were in like the last 4 or 5 years, 2015 and 2016. Hasn't even been back to the tournament since. And so when I look at Boston College, I think it's a really interesting opening. Now, I'm just going to call a spade and tell you what I would do. It's not going to happen, but what I would do if I was Boston College, I'm just going to say it. I'd call Rick Pitino. Because say what you want about Rick Pitino, he is going to win games wherever he goes, and he is going to immediately turn around a program. And I'm just saying at some point, some Power 5 program is probably going to hire Rick Pitino. So why not make it you? Give him a call. You're not going to have to pay him much. He is immediately going to make your program more relevant. And if it doesn't work out, who cares? You're Boston College. That's what I would do. I don't think the AD will do that because most ADs, as I've talked about on this show, they're afraid. They like getting their check for $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, and they would rather keep getting that check and be just good enough and not take chances than take the big chance that could get them the big check and get them a promotion or a new job. But I don't think they're going to get Rick Pitino. I don't think anybody for a couple years is going to get Rick Pitino, but I am telling you, I believe that at some point, even at his age, he will again coach at the Power 5 level. And if you're Boston College, you've been irrelevant, he will make you a winner. He will get you to the NCAA tournament. I was talking to somebody on Wednesday. If Rick Pitino took the Boston College job, I believe they would be in the top half of the ACC within 2 years. And when I say that, it sounds crazy, but just hear me out. Because right now we think of the ACC, we think about the Blue Bloods, the great programs, we think about North Carolina, we think about Duke, we think about Syracuse, we think about Louisville. The ACC is kind of very top-heavy and not very good right now. Virginia's awesome, Florida State's awesome, Duke is really good most years, Louisville is really good most years, North Carolina's really good most years. That's 5 programs. You know who's not really good? Miami's not really good. You know who's not really good? Clemson's not really good. You know who's not really good? Syracuse, basically the last 6, 7, 8 years, has not been very good. You know who's not very good? Georgia Tech. Love my guy Josh Pastner with the Shield. He ain't very good. And so when I look at the ACC, I truly believe, and this sounds crazy, if Rick Pitino became the head coach at Boston College, I believe they would be in the top half of the conference within 2 seasons. I don't believe it's going to happen, though. And in terms of who else could get the job, I'll give you a few names. First one, the guy that I would actually realistically think you can hire and I would go get Pitino. But the guy that I would go get, a guy named John Becker, he is the head coach at Vermont. Vermont is basically a mid-major power. Had there been a tournament last year, they were in position to go to their 3rd tournament in 4 years. They play in the same conference as UMBC, but they had won the regular season for 4 straight years. They were going to go to the tournament for the 3rd time in 4 years. This is a guy that does not have to recruit high-caliber players, high-caliber athletes, whatever. He just coaches people up. And I think he would be a really good fit there. He's from New England. He's coached his whole career in New England. And again, he would get those players and he would coach them up to have success. I believe he can make NCAA tournaments there. Another name to watch, Mark Schmidt, who's also the coach at St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure is in position to make their 3rd NCAA tournament in the last 10 years this year. He actually played at Boston College. I believe he would be under consideration. Howard Isley, an assistant coach. He played in the NBA forever, but he's an assistant coach at Michigan right now under Juwan Howard. He also played at Boston College. There's a lot of buzz that he wants that job. And he's learned a lot under Juwan Howard, who I think has done as good of a job as anybody transitioning from the NBA to college basketball. Tommy Amikur, who, of course, is now at Harvard. He's in Boston. He wouldn't even have to move. He knows the area. Boston College, by the way, is a high-caliber academic school. Tommy Amikur has recruited high-caliber academic kids. I think he makes sense. And I'll give you one more name. Porter Mosier at Loyola of Chicago. The Loyola of Chicago head coach, of course. Loyola made the NCAA tournament, 2 years ago? Or made the Final Four, 3 years ago in 2018. Remember Sister Jean? Remember that whole thing? So Porter Mosier, he was actually the AD that's currently at Boston College was at Loyola of Chicago with Porter Mosier. Porter Mosier is a guy, he has had success at the mid-major level. He's also been a guy that very publicly has kind of complained about how hard it is to compete at the mid-major level, how hard it is to schedule, how hard it is to get good teams into your scheduling. And because of it, I truly believe that he is a guy that would be interested in leaving and taking that next opportunity because of the fact that I believe that is a situation that he would be interested in.